Good morning, students.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
All right. So today we will take a rest from the central nervous system. Okay. And I'll be introducing the gastrointestinal tract physiology. Okay. So before we go into the physiology, you just have a look at some part of the anatomy that may be important for physiology. Something that we call as the functional anatomy. All right. I think you're all aware what the gastrointestinal tract system consists of, isn't it? We all use it, isn't it? And we have probably have studied it in 12 as well. And starting from the mouth, ending in the anus. Okay, but it's not just the this tubular tract that we're concerned with in gastrointestinal tract. But you see, the GIT is the only system probably that contains a number of organ systems. Okay, so it's not just the tubular structure starting from the mouth to the anus, but then we are also going to include number of organs. Okay, like the liver, the pancreas, salivary glands. Okay, so these are all part of what we call as the gastrointestinal tract. So here you can see that there are major organs and there are accessory organs in the GIT system. Major organs, of course, consist of the tubular structure itself, all right, and accessory organs consist of the liver, the gallbladder, the pancreas, and as I've said, some of the salivary glands. Okay, then function. When we talk about the function of the gastrointestinal tract, I think is obvious. Is meant for intake of food first of all, isn't it? Which is important for the derivation of energy. Okay, and second is that the food that we take is being digested into simpler forms, forms that are easily absorbable. Okay, and to do that, that part of digestion, because digestion is not just the mechanical digestion of the food, all right, but then the chemical digestion as well. Even in the mouth, where we are, dominantly, digesting the food mechanically by breaking it down using your teeth, isn't it? And of course, forming a bulk, all right, to swallow, and or what we call as the bolus of food to swallow. Okay, but then we find in the mouth also the salivary glands, secrete saliva, but saliva also contains a number of chemicals, which we will be, talking in detail when we talk of the salivary gland. So anyway, even in the, stomach, you'll find that there is HCl, and then as you go HCl on pepsin as well, the enzyme pepsin, and then as you go further down, you'll find a host of enzymes, acting on the food and breaking it down into simpler forms so that it can be absorbed. So digestion consists of a number of things that are functions of the stomach, like secretion of enzymes, and of course movement of the bowel, movement of the intestine, starting from the mouth itself down into the anus, all right, for different purposes. Okay, so movement is plays a very important role. Not only that, it helps in the swallowing of the food, digestion of the food, all right, helps in the excretion of the waste. Okay, everything that is unabsorbed, all right, that remains in the large intestine that is going to be drive down. You have a number of movement like you know uh, mass peristalsis and all that, and then moving down the undigested bulk, and then that gets excreted. So function is therefore obvious. Okay, it's mainly for ingestion, for digestion, for absorption, and for waste elimination. Okay, and so this is the major function of the gastrointestinal tract. So this is the overall anatomy of the an overall view, or what we call as a bird's eye view, we can say panoramic view of the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, I'm not going into the detail of this. I think you all can see your textbook, and look at the position of the different, organs, the major organs as well as accessory organs in the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, this has to be, you have to go through this, and anatomy, you will be learning about all these things. Okay, so now, what is important when we talk of, functional physiology is important to, look at the layers, that forms this tubular structure starting from the mouth to the anus. Okay, all right, of course there would be, differential composition of, a structural composition of the tract at different levels, but then this is the what you see here in the slide. Okay, is something that we can say is common to the entire tract. Okay, so you'll find that the gastrointestinal tract is basically made up of 4 layers. All right, starting with the mucosa, that is the innermost layer, then followed by the submucosa, the muscular layer, and finally the serosal layer. Okay, so anyway, mucosa layer again is not entirely just mucus, but then it consists of the epithelial cells. All right, and epithelial cells can be different in different parts of the tract. You'd find that from the mouth to the esophagus. All right, the epithelium would be basically the stratified squamous type. Okay, but then the lower of esophagus, the stomach downwards, it'll be a columnar type of epithelium. Okay, so slight differentiation is there, and you'll find that the mucosa is also, the innermost is basically made up of the epithelial cells. Then, as you go deeper into the, gut wall, you'll find that there is something called the lamina propria. Okay, consisting of basically fibroblasts and some of the blood cells, the macrophages, eosinophil, these blood cells, phagocytes. All right, and these makes up what we call as the lamina propria, and then there is something called as the mucosa muscularis or muscularis mucosae. Okay, as you can see here, there's a very thin layer of smooth muscle. All right, very thin layer of smooth muscle. This is said to be seen only from the esophagus downward. You don't see this in the mouth. Okay, and all these form what we call as the mucosal layer. The mucosa layer. Okay, and then you look at the submucosa. It is nothing but some kind of layer that is made up of some collagen fibers and collagen and some other mainly the collagen, the blood vessels, the lymphatics, the nerves, they are part of what we call a submucosal layer. Okay, so this separates the mucosa from the muscular layer. Okay, now the something that I missed here is that there is a base membrane also. That separates the epithelial cells from the lamina propria. Okay, so anyway, we come to the muscular layer. You'll find that basically the almost the entire GIT is made up of two layers of muscle, inner circular layer and the outer longitudinal layer. But then again, there's a lot of differentiation, of the muscular makeup of the entire GIT. You'd find that in the mouth, the mouth, the pharyngeal wall, the mouth, they are basically made up of skeletal muscle. You don't have this, this layer of smooth muscle. Okay. So basically, there you would find only the skeletal muscle. Then, if you go further down to the esophagus, you find that the esophageal wall is made up of a mixture of, rather a combination, I would say, not mixture, a combination of skeletal muscle and the smooth muscle cells. Okay, the smooth muscles. Okay, it is from the stomach downward that you find that you'll have this, you'll have the muscular layer to be consisting of smooth muscle alone. Okay, and these smooth muscles are aligned, differently. So some of them are aligned in a circular fashion, and some of them are aligned in a longinal fashion. All right, so that's why we have, circular muscles and longinal muscles. But then in the stomach, you have an additional layer. Actually, the innermost layer in the stomach is called as the inner oblique muscle. So a muscle that is arranged obliquely, right? Followed by a circular, smooth muscle arranged in circular fashion. Then followed by smooth muscles arranged in longinal fashion. So they are not, these are not different type of smooth muscles. They are the same smooth muscle but arranged differently. Okay, arranged in different ways and different position to provide the structure with the ability to do number of functions, starting from digestion, all right, to propulsion, all right. So when you're propelling, probably you would require not only constriction, and then you also require not only the circular muscle, I mean, but then as well as the longinal muscle. Okay. So anyway, you'll find arrangement of these are different in different places. So in the stomach, you find these three layers, but then you go further down in the small intestine. This is this is a this is a kind of arrangement where you have inner smooth muscle is the circular smooth muscle, and the outer smooth muscle is the longinal muscle. Now, if you go into the large intestine, that you'll find that these longinal muscles are arranged in a form of bundles known as tinea, I think tinea coli. Okay, so and then you have the beyond this. So these are longinal, these are circular. Okay, so these are circular muscles, these are longinal muscles. Now you find this blue kind of structure in between these layers. First between the submucosae and the muscular layer, then another one between the muscular layer and the serosal. Sorry, between the muscular smooth muscles. All right, that means between the circular muscle and the longinal muscle. All right, find another blue layer. These are nothing but a network of neurons. All right, that makes up what we call as the enteric nervous system. Okay, the number of neurons here is said to be equal to the number of neurons in the spinal cord. Okay, combined. That means you combine this one and this one. You add up the number of neurons. You'll find that the number of neurons in this, what we call as the enteric nervous system, is equal to the number of neurons in the spinal cord. Okay, and this layer of neurons, okay, that you find in between the submucosa and the muscular layer is called as the Meissner's. All right, this is called as the Meissner's plexus. All right, the Meissner's plexus. This layer that you find between the longinal muscle and the circular muscle, that is called as the meandric plexus, or sometimes it's called as the Auerbach plexus. This Meissner is also called a submucosal plexus. So you have two names for each one, and it is said that the submucosal layer, what is called as a Meissner, is basically controlling or regulating the secretion function of the GIT. Okay, so the secretory function of the GIT is being controlled by this. But then the meandric plexus, all right, that is meandric. Why? Because it's lying in between the two muscle layers. Right? Myo comes from the muscle. So meandric, something that lies in between the muscle layer. Okay. So this is said to be a network of neurons important in regulating the movement of the GIT. Now, movement can be contraction or relaxation, or constriction and relaxation. Okay, so contraction or constriction can be brought about by a number of neurotransmitters like acetylcholine, serotonin. Okay, and a number of neurotransmitters, substance P for that matter, and then the other neurotransmitters would be inhibiting this that function, would be something like neurotensin or vasoactive peptides. Okay, so therefore these neurons here, they secrete those neurotransmitters that probably have an effect on the muscle that are facilitating the movement of the GIT, okay, and therefore can cause excitation of these muscles or inhibition of these muscles, depending on what type of neurotransmitters that are being secreted, okay. So anyway, serosa is basically made up of connective tissue, and sometimes can be fibrous, they said, sometimes can be serous, all right, and so this is the outermost layer, all right, and sometimes it's called as visceral peritoneum, okay. So peritoneum is nothing but something that is present from the stomach downward to the, I think, to the large intestine, and something that invests the entire, this entire GIT, all right. So the entire GIT is invested within the peritoneum, something like, covering that, something that rather that separates the GIT from the rest of the abdomen, okay. So these are, the different layers of the gastrointestinal. This is very important for you to know, and you must, have this in mind whenever you talk about GIT, and then you will see a lot of, differentiation with respect to the mucosal layer as you go from one part of the GIT to the other part of the GIT. That will, you will learn as we discuss the different parts different times. Okay, so this is important that you should know. Okay, later you will be talking about intestinal villi. These are nothing but projections from the epithelial cells, the brush borders and all that within the villi. Okay, increasing the surface area of the for absorption, for digestion as well as absorption. Okay, so this helps the exposition of the the mucosa layer, which is has uh, a secretory function as well as absorption. Most importantly, absorption function. Okay, so so enzyme would be secreted for further breaking down the uh, nutrient into simpler or the simplest forms. Okay, which then can be absorbed by the same structure, the villi. Okay, they are thrown into folds so that they can we can increase the surface area and increase the rate and quantum of absorption of the nutrient. Okay, so this is which you'll be again seeing when we discuss the intestine. So this is how it's positioned, the different layers in the gastrointestinal position. If you take you look at this picture, it's being one layer after another layer is being removed, and then you get to see the kind of arrangement that takes place in the wall of the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, so these are all the layers that I have already discussed in the previous slide. The previous slide is more of a schematic diagram, all right, and it's like a transaction of the gastrointestinal tract, okay, and you can see all the different layers, okay, and here again this is how the different layers are being arranged in the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, so this is a mucosa, all right, consisting of all those things that I've already told you, the different parts of the mucosa. Then you have the submucosa, all right, consisting of lymphatic tissue, blood vessels, of course, some glands and ducts of glands and glands in mucosa. Okay, then you have this muscular layer. Okay, of course, submucosa also has a thin layer of muscle, smooth muscle cell. All right, so muscular layer consisting of circular muscle, longitudinal muscle. Okay, and of course the serosa consisting of so it's connective tissue, something called areola connective tissue, and some amount of epithelium called as I think the mesoepithelium. All right, mesoepithelium. Okay, or the mesoepithelial cells. All right. Okay. So again, looking into the enteric nervous system, this we already know the position of these plexuses. All right. But then what I want to impress with this is that there is a connection between these two plexuses. All right, that means there's some kind of connection between the myenteric and the submucosal. As you can see here, neurons sending projection to the for neurons from myenteric sending projection to the submucosal plexus. Okay, the neurons from here from the submucosal plexus sending projection to the myenteric plexus, and of course some of the information is being sent to the central nervous system as well, and the autonomic nervous system. Okay, so we have sensory, these are sensory neurons, these are motor neurons. The sensory neurons therefore take the information that it gathers from the mucosal epithelium, not only to the central nervous system or autonomic nervous system, but even to the locally to the myenteric plexus. So this is a kind of a local, central nervous system. It's a kind of a local nervous system. Okay, you can only have one central nervous system. So this is kind of a local nervous system. That's why we call it as the enteric nervous system. So we have a motor neuron coming from the myenteric plexus, supplying the two muscles, the circular and the longitudinal muscle. All right. Okay. So control of these muscles is basically done by the enteric nervous system. But then you have, this can be called as an intrinsic, innervation. All right, innervation that is local. All right, within the organ itself. But then you have extrinsic control as well, which is coming from here, in the autonomic nervous system. Okay, parasympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic, the thoracic, cervical thoracic outflow, starting from the T5 to I think lumbar L2, I think. Okay, and you have the fiber, sympathetic fiber leaving the spinal cord and bypassing the sympathetic chain. Okay, to synapse in the myenteric plexus, you have celiac plexus, myenteric plexus. Not myenteric, mesenteric plexus. Sorry, mesenteric plexus, or the mesenteric ganglion. Sorry, ganglion, not plexus. Plexus is only here in the nervous system. What I mean to say is the ganglion, the celiac ganglion, the mesenteric ganglion. Okay, so there only, from there only you'll have the postganglionic sympathetic fiber. Okay, and leaving to control these muscles and the glands as well. Okay, and you look at the function of sympathetic system is that it causes the relaxation of the gastrointestinal tract, but then it also causes constriction of the sphincters. All right, constriction of the sphincters. Most of these sphincters are actually in the gastrointestinal tract are basically the thickening of the circular smooth muscle. Okay, so the sphincter is basically smooth muscle, except for the external anal sphincter, which is basically skeletal. Now, all the sphincters within the gastrointestinal tract are basically thickening of the circular smooth muscle. All right, and they're controlled by both sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic would cause constriction. Parasympathetic would cause relaxation of the sphincter. So as you can see, parasympathetic is causing movement of the gastrointestinal tract and relaxation of the sphincters. Okay, so it's important in propelling the what we call as the chyme from one part of the or the food bolus from one part of the GIT to another part of the GIT. Okay, whereas this probably it's important in as you can say during when during feeding. All right, when there is a period of filling of the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, so this is how the gastrointestinal tract is being controlled. So when you talk of regulation of gastrointestinal tract, we have to remember that you have neural control, number one, and neural control consists of two. One is the intrinsic neural control, and the other is extrinsic neural control. Intrinsic is basically made up of the enteric nervous system, all right, and extrinsic is basically made up of the sympathetic and parasympathetic, that comes with the autonomic nervous system. Okay, so parasympathetic, sympathetic, as I've said, chain from, arises from T5 to, I think, T5 to, or T thoracic, and the lumbar, yes. Whereas the sympathetic is, sorry, that is sympathetic. Parasympathetic is basically the craniosacral outflow, we say. All right, comprising of cranial nerves and sacral nerve, like the pelvic nerve. Okay, so the mouth and major portion of the upper GIT is controlled by cranial nerves, like the mouth facial nerve. The stomach and the intestine is controlled by vagus. Okay, so you can have reflexes also controlling the. You have long reflexes as well as short reflexes. Long reflexes like the vagovagal, reflex. Okay, and short reflexes involving the enteric nervous system. Okay, so neural control is a very comprehensive control. But then besides the neural control, you have the endocrine control as well. And because that is also a very comprehensive, I would be dealing with that in the next class. Okay. So far we have been discussing about the functional anatomy, all right, structures in the gastrointestinal tract, and then we have also discussed the first part of the control system of the gastrointestinal tract, and that first part is the neural control. And in my next class, I'll be talking about the hormonal control of the gastrointestinal tract. Am I clear? Now you get used to uh, learning about the neural control of the gastrointestinal tract. All right. I think this is the most important part of our discussion today. Clear? Am I clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, this, as I've said, these are reflexes, again controlling the long reflexes, the short reflexes involving the enteric nervous system. Okay, so stimulus in the mucous epithelium, all right, stimulating the mucous epithelium, okay, receptors there, and then that will be taken to the enteric nervous system, or the the nerve plexuses, and then it would affect the glands, the muscles. That means the longitudinal and circular muscles in the glands that are secretory in nature, and the response would be either secretion of enzymes or either contraction or relaxation. Okay. Now this is a long reflex involving vagus, and result in what we call as a vagovagal reflex. Okay. So this is another control, part of the neural control. Okay. So when you discuss neural control, therefore you will have to divide them into intrinsic, extrinsic, and reflexes. Okay. Am I clear? Okay. So this is sympathetic
Yes, sir.
information. Yes, from T5 to L2, isn't it? Originating from T5 to L2, bypassing the sympathetic chain, and then synapsing in the celiac and the mesenteric. These are mesenteric, this is celiac, okay. And then from there only you have the postganglionic fibers ending in different parts of the GIT. This parasympathetic, I have said, is a craniosacral outflow. So basically, facial nerve, vagus, glossopharyngeal, would be the cranial part that control the GIT, the upper part of GIT. Okay, the lower part of GIT is being controlled by the pelvic nerve, which is basically a sacral outflow. Okay, so anyway, these are this is nothing but the same thing that I've discussed, but presented in so you can use this as well. Okay, how acetylcholine secreted from here, the submucosal plexus, all right, can affect this part of the layer containing probably the muscularis mucosa, all right, the some smooth muscle activity, but they are both basically the it's a mesenteric which control the circular and the longitudinal. So some mucosal plexus control this part. This and it is more, important in controlling the secretion of the, secretion of the, glands, all right, that are present here in the mucosa layer. Okay, and main trick is important in controlling circular and longinal muscle, and these are helpful in producing muscle contraction that helps in propulsion, in segmentation, in digestion. Okay, clear. So that is, I think that is the end of the neurocontrol, functional anatomy, as well as the neurocontrol of gastrointestinal tract. And my next class would be the other component of neural control, that is the hormonal control of the gastrointestinal tract. Clear, clear. So like the entire body, right? The entire body is being controlled by you have a neural control as well as the endocrine control. So same here, you find that even the gastrointestinal tract is being controlled by these two components. One is the neural control and second is the endocrine control. Am I clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, so bye. Okay, thank you. Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir.
Yes,
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
thank you.